paid close attention to your agenda, you've noticed that things might not quite be what they seem. Speaker number 1 was Maya Smith, and she has swapped positions with our next speaker, Sonji Mims Adams. Sorry, Sonji. And our evaluators will also be flip-flopping, so those of you who like to keep track of details, if you would swap Abby and Pam, the rest of the agenda is intact and ready to go. Our second speaker is speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual. It's speech number 5, Your Body Speaks. The objective is to complement your message with your body during delivery. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. The title of Sonji's speech is What Lessons Can You Learn in the Dark? Sonji Mims Adams has been a member of Toastmasters since January 2009. Today she's giving her 5th speech. And again, her speech title is What Lessons Can You Learn in the Dark? Sonji.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, what lessons can you learn in the dark? Dark. It can be defined as lacking brightness or light, lacking enlightenment or knowledge. It can be characterized by gloom, dark. Mom would tell me when I was growing up, Sonja, whatever you do in the dark, it's gonna come to the light. Children are afraid of the dark. They imagine that there's monsters lurking around up under their beds. Dark. Well, today, I encourage you to take another look at the dark. 2 weeks ago, we had a storm and a power outage. The power was out at my home and many across the upstate. It was dark. I started thinking, what lessons can you learn in the dark? Lesson 1. I sat there, started thinking, you can utilize other resources in the dark. That darkness forced me to utilize a different resource than the electricity. So I got my candle, my battery-powered candle. Turned it on, and that little brightness dispelled some of the darkness in the room. Lesson 2. You can begin to relax in the dark. I sat there and it was so peaceful. There were no distractions from the television. There were no tasks that I needed to perform. I just relaxed in the dark. Lesson 3. You can learn how to reflect in the dark. I started pondering things that I had done the past week. I started thinking about this speech that I had to do today. And I began to write. Not with my usual weapon, the computer. But I took a piece of paper and a pen and I began to write my speech in the dark as I was reflecting. Lesson 4 that you can learn in the dark. My husband came home, he sat down, and we began to relate in the dark. We communicated. Normally my husband, not normally, but sometimes, we'll communicate. He'll be downstairs, I'll be upstairs, and we'll communicate via cell phone. Honey, did you know that Vanessa Bell Armstrong is on the gospel music channel? Yeah, turn her on and watch her. But in the dark, we began to relate one-on-one. About an hour later, the power came back on. I made a decision to not turn the television back on. I left the laptop off, and I went downstairs to cook dinner. I no longer had the excuse that the power's out. But as I began to cook, those 4 lessons came to manifest. And I started cooking. I utilized other resources. I pulled out a pan I would not normally use for that fettuccine Alfredo. I pulled other spices out of the cabinet. And then I began to relax. I was so relaxed that dinner was done in record time. Then I began to reflect over the recipe. Started thinking about some techniques I had saw on the Food Channel. I implemented those techniques into the dinner. And then when it was done, I began to relate to that food. And as you can see, I relate well to that. About a week prior to the power outage, I had posted on Facebook that joy comes in the morning. But sometimes you ask, how long is the night? Be encouraged, because the darkest time is just before dawn. Wake up, it's morning. Fellow Toastmasters, it's morning. Wake up. It's time to manifest those lessons that you learned in the dark. Thank you.